So the last time I made a video tackling something like this, it was about self-loathing. So, tackling a similar and more broader subject, we've got mental health. Now, mental health is starting to become a topic of conversation in society these days, as more and more people are expressing their feelings about the issues that they face on a daily basis. And we are starting to understand the ramifications that mental health issues can have on people in their daily lives. So with all of this talk about mental health, sometimes it's represented poorly in entertainment, or sometimes even it's just used as a plot device for specific characters, like, oh, this guy's crazy, he must have mental health issues. However, one game that I believe truly displays how mental health affects so many people in the world today, and in both a relatable and mature way, is Celeste. Celeste is a platformer game that came out in 2018 and it became one of the year's best indie games. From its crisp platforming gameplay to its beautiful score, it became a standout indie game in a year full of great indie games. However, in my opinion, its biggest, most admirable achievement is its story and how it ties all of its messaging so well together in a great story about a girl trying to prove something to herself while trying to overcome her inner self. The story of Celeste is pretty simple. A girl wants to climb a mountain in order to prove something to herself, but this simple concept evolves into a story about someone who struggles with her inner self, and the mountain acts as a symbol of that struggle. One of Celeste's biggest talking points was its difficulty. When I first played it, I thought the game was insanely hard, and even after revisiting it, it's still harder compared to other platformers that I've played recently. There's a lot of comparisons that can be made between Celeste and Super Meat Boy when it comes to its gameplay and difficulty, and Celeste could have even been inspired by Super Meat Boy. And Celeste, unless you are a god at platforming games, you will probably die a lot of times, and over and over and over again. But, every time you die, you learn something new. And I think that's an important part of Celeste, in a way, is that even though you die, you keep trying and just keep trying until you get it right. Along with the difficulty of the game can also be a reflection of the game's story and Madeline's struggles with herself. These struggles with herself take the manifestation of a physical representation of all of her anxieties in the form of Madeline. Madeline is a constant force throughout the entire game, constantly criticizing Madeline throughout her entire journey climbing the mountain. Madeline, in a way, could be considered the antagonist of Celeste. An example of how battling negatively impacts Madeline's journey throughout Celeste Mountain is when they visited Mr. Oshiro. Now, Mr. Oshiro is the owner of a hotel on Celeste Mountain and wants Madeline to stay at his hotel. Madeline wants to help Oshiro out, but at the end of the level, Madeline outbursts at Oshiro, which leads to Oshiro lashing out at Madeline and leads to the destruction of the hotel, and Oshiro tells Madeline to leave him alone. This is an example of Madeline being able to have more control over Madeline and how Madeline's bad side can affect. So throughout the entire game, the player is constantly being berated and broken down by Madeline, and it all reaches its climax when Madeline is thrown all the way back down the mountain after a fight between the two. After being thrown down the mountain, Madeline is ready to give up until she is given advice by the old woman just to talk to her bad side. So after Madeline regains her confidence, Madeline finally looks to confront her bad side head on. At first, Madeline tries to run away, and Madeline throws every single thing she has to try to escape her. But eventually, Madeline comes to the decision that in order to overcome the mountain, they both must work together as one. So both Madeline and Madeline, the good and the bad, come together as one self, and they're able to acquire new powers, and both of them are able to climb the top of the mountain. So what does all of this mean? Well, Celeste's message to the player is simple. Take care of yourself. Every single one of us goes through shit in our lives, but at the end of the game, the meaning of the two sides of Madeline coming together is an impactful one. It is a message of rather than destroying the negatives of herself, she embraces it and tries to make the flaws not define her as a person. We as people cannot just wish something to go away because it hurts. In order for the thing that hurts us to be defeated, albeit depression or mental illness or any other type of problem, we have to accept that it is a part of ourselves. This is just another part of our life, and the best way to combat it is to accept that this happens. Celeste is about learning to overcome yourself as a person, both the parts that are good and bad, and then learn to self-improve over time. Life is like a mountain, a difficult journey that will make us cast doubt onto ourselves if we can overcome it. But if we learn to accept our situation in life, that we can reach the top of that mountain and overcome our greatest fears. Thanks for watching.